Hey guys, let's talk about alignment a little bit. So alignment, you can think of as just putting things in a sequence. You can think of it as organizing them so they converge on a point. So you could imagine if you had like a magnifying glass or a laser, you had a bunch of lasers, you could align them all so they're pointing at a certain thing, right? Or you could imagine if you had like a balloon or a sphere, a globe, and you had lasers embedded all around the surface of the globe, you could put a point anywhere inside the globe and then adjust each laser so it's pointing directly at that thing. And so that would be another type of alignment. And so a lot of times Jiu-Jitsu is like that because we've got all these different resources to use, the different limbs, the head, the shoulders, the hips, all that, and it needs to be properly aligned to converge on whatever goal we're in pursuit of or whatever technique we're trying to achieve or accomplish. This thought of alignment can also be thought of as efficiency. You're trying to make your movement, the quality of your movement better and your movement more efficient. It takes an awareness of the different elements involved as well as an awareness of the goal that you're in pursuit of to understand how to organize your resources and resourcefulness to converge on the in as efficient a way as possible. So things we're looking to do are make our movements and adjustments more precise. We want to make the impact of our connections more meaningful in relation to the goal that we're in pursuit of. So this concept of alignment, when we understand it well and are able to utilize it, it allows us to have greater foresight into what's about to happen. It allows us to see and predict the opponent's movement. If I understand how I have to move to make a guillotine work or make an armbar work or make a rear naked choke work, I get a sense of how all the different pieces, all the different elements need to align to converge on that technique. And if I have a good sense of that, and I've paid attention to it and taken inventory of all the relationships that have to come together in the precise way to make those things happen, then it becomes apparent to me when my opponent has that same aim, when they're aligning their movement and their resources to converge on whichever goal that might be, the armbar, the guillotine, or whatnot, which helps with my defenses. And it helps me understand how they're likely to behave, right? Because there's a whole bunch of ways to get something wrong and only a few ways to get it right. So you can think if you've got a technique that I'm going after, there's a set of ways that the technique could be accomplished, could be completed. And in that set of ways, there's a bunch of different pathways that can get me to my objective or to my goal, but it's not infinite, right? I have to go. There are certain things that have to be done. I have to follow certain steps to make a technique work. So if we're to use an example, say I'm doing a cross choke, then I got to get one hand in and the other hand in, and I got to squeeze, right? Without those things happening, there's no cross choke. So whenever you understand these elements, you want to think what's the order of operation that has to happen, right? And when you understand the order of operation, then it gives you a sense of how you have to organize your resources to make those steps play out, right? And as those steps play out, it gives you a deeper understanding of how to do what you're doing better, and make everything happen in a more efficient way each time you iterate the technique and work it out. So that's kind of what we want to be looking at whenever we're training with alignment in mind. I want to be thinking each time I iterate the technique, each time I do it again, where is the misalignment? Meaning, what's out of place? Where's there friction? Is there a procedural error? Am I doing? I got the order of operation wrong. What are the different elements that are adding friction or inefficiencies to the achievement of my goal, right? And when I can reduce those, by reducing those, I'm reducing the things that are not necessary. And anything that's not necessary is unnecessary. And if it's unnecessary, then it's not needed. So if we can remove the things that are not necessary, we simplify our game, we simplify our technique, and we improve the overall quality of what it is that we're doing. And so, of course, this should be the pursuit, the endeavor for any aspect in any area of life. And it's also the way that you keep things fun and enjoyable. And I talk with my sons about this and daughter. If we find what we're doing not that fun, one way to gamify it for yourself and make it more fun is to kind of lay this on top of it. Just think to yourself, how can I take this problem I'm dealing with, and how can I approach it more efficiently? How can I better align everything that's going on to converge on whatever the goal might be, to make it a more efficient, a more well-aligned process? So this is principle one, alignment. The Jiu-Jitsu mindset is to always have the approach of, how do I do things more efficiently, right? And as you take that approach to solving sets of problems, you naturally become more efficient with the things that you do. And so your life gets simpler, it gets smoother, and there's less friction and more enjoyable, because as you get better at dealing with inefficiencies and overcoming them, then it gets fun to solve those problems. There's like an arc when you look at tech companies or when things are developed in nature. There's like an exploratory phase where whenever something's produced, phones would be a good example of this. If you remember, whenever the phone came out, the cell phone, it got smaller and smaller as a form of efficiency, right? And then they started adding things to it. So what else could we do other than just have a phone? So then there's a calculator on it, and you've got the camera on it, and all this stuff. And then you have this huge diversification of applications and ways that different types of builds of phones that people create and build. And then from all that exploratory behavior, an awareness arises about the key elements that you need to make a phone or to make it the most versatile possible, reducing redundancies and inefficiencies. And so what you see is something like the iPhone, right? Now it's a screen where you can touch anywhere, and it can do pretty much anything. They can program to do whatever type app you want to put on it. That's a simplification. It's the things that you can. It's a way of aligning the resources that make the phone so that the phone's super simple, but also super powerful, right? And we want our jiu-jitsu to be the same way. You can also see this with a shift in an interest in making technology like strong, like more powerful, like chips and processors. There's a search to make the chips more efficient, right? So they consume less power with greater output. And whenever they hit a limit that stops them, like physics-wise, the size of a transistor or something can only be so big because of laws of physics, then to keep moving forward and keep improving efficiency, then you have to look at other elements and rearrange them to still make the process and what can do more efficient. The architecture of the way things are placed, or the software that's used to in a smarter way to bring things together. So in Jiu-Jitsu, you could think also from the perspective of not only what am I doing with my body, but where and how am I placing my attention? What's my emotional state? My connectedness, how am I utilizing my connectedness to impact, to get me closer to the goal? What about how am I applying leverage here? Am I connected center to center? These are different ways to think about that contribute to the alignment of how everything's fitting together with what you're doing, and the efficiency of the processes that you have in place. When we explore jiu-jitsu techniques in this way, and with kind of an open mind, it makes it more fun. There's also a shift in perspective that's happening, because if you want everything to align, then you have to kind of go through the different layers of your awareness. Like, how's my breathing impacting what I'm doing, right? Where's the tension in different areas of my body? What's the purpose of this limb or that limb? And then that forces you to, I shouldn't say force, it allows you to then take the perspective of whatever element is contributing or resource is contributing to the overarching goal, and play with it. And then as you play with it, you go through that diversity, and then you start to get a sense of, okay, this is the main role that this part has in this objective, right? And then, or it might be the order of operation. You've got to get from there to there, but you're not quite sure what the steps or what the order of the steps is. So you play with it and you start figuring out, oh, okay, it's most efficient if I do this before this, or I might have to put one hand in before I put the second hand in. So there might be a procedural thing there that you're having to pay attention to. So all these different ways of looking at the problem and shifting your perspective help you see what all's involved, and then align those different elements to become more and more efficient. A way to grade your alignment is to look at how efficient is my movement? How efficiently am I achieving the technique? Am I having to use a lot of strength? Am I having to force this or that? Is there excess movement anywhere that could be reduced? Is there friction? These are ways to use the principle of alignment to improve the quality of your jiu-jitsu and the quality of your life. I often think of alignment also as unity, right? Because to align things, you're unifying them around a certain aim or a certain goal. And to act in the world, we have to organize our resources around an aim. There's something that happens whenever you sit with a concept for a while and you let it work in the background while you experience life and other things. So I'd recommend doing this with the principles, right? The principle of alignment's a great example. If you think about the way things are aligning and how to use alignment in your jiu-jitsu, and you've got that sitting in the back of your mind, and you sit with that for days, weeks, months, years, and you go through the cycle of training all your techniques, training the system. And at our academy, we have cycles that we go through, so we hit all the areas of jiu-jitsu on a consistent, regular basis. If you go through a cycle with a principle in mind, then you gain a new perspective on everything you're seeing. If you do that with another principle, you're going to have a different perspective the next time you go through. One of the ways we see truth, one of the ways that we can tell something's true, is that we use the common testimony of our senses, common sense, right? We have the different senses: sight, smell, touch, right? Hearing, and so we've got these senses, and each sense is a different perspective, right? And so what it's like to smell something is completely different than what it's like to see something and what it's like to feel something. So these senses are different testimonies that then if those different testimonies converge on a thing, then we can use our common sense to say, well, that's most likely real. And so when we're trying to think about problems and we're trying to get a handle on the problem, on the solution, and how to be more efficient and more well aligned, part of what's required is to look from different perspectives to get different senses of how the thing can fit together, where we sit in relation to the goal, and view it from different angles. So it allows us to have a deep understanding of the whys and how things are working. And then we start to have an understanding of what a much deeper understanding of why things are working the way they're working, and that deeper understanding improves our ability to have qualitatively more efficient and more well-aligned movements. Another perspective to take is, how do I make sure my opponent is out of alignment? Of course, that's just the opposite. If I can move in a way that makes me in better alignment, more principally sound, and the opponent out of alignment, then I'm going to be sitting in a better position. So that's a little bit about alignment. Also, if you like this type of stuff, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the other side.